The mission I have gladly accepted today is to share every single watch worn by Tom Cruise playing Ethan Hunt in the Mission Impossible movies, and also a lot of his IMF team as well.
Specialist without equal, immune to any countermeasures. There is no secret he cannot extract, no security he cannot breach, no person he cannot become.
This is your mission, should you choose to accept it.
Okay, hi guys, and welcome to the show. As Tom Cruise wears a Cartier Santos off screen, I thought I'd wear my own. What can I say? This is the Galby Moon Phase, a little tribute to an actor with impeccable taste in watches. Before we get into it, please don't forget to click like. It really does help, especially if you want to keep seeing more free and independent content like this. Oh, and also subscribe if you haven't. The Mission Impossible movies is an adaptation of the iconic CBS television show of the late 1960s about the exploits of a small team of covert government agents known as the Impossible Missions Force, or IMF, who accept the titular missions with sophisticated methods of spycraft, thwarting enemy spies, hostile governments, terrorists of all types, corrupt industrialists, and crime lords. Numerous efforts by Paramount Pictures stalled to create a Mission Impossible movie until Tom Cruise founded Cruise/Wagner Productions in 1992 and decided on Mission Impossible as its inaugural project. The film's success led to a long-running series, beginning with Mission Impossible 2, released 4 years later in 2000, and continuing to this very day, with the newest 2025 installment, The Final Reckoning.
When the need for certainty is absolute, the mission falls to him.
This impressive franchise not only outlasted the tenure of two actors playing James Bond, but also, in my opinion, has become far more consistent in quality and the level of spectacle. And that's saying a lot, coming from a James Bond fan. And even just like 007, it has its own super memorable theme. And of course, why I'm here today, some really cool timepieces too. So as you guys know, I'm a massive Bond fan. Primarily Connery, then Roger Moore, Dalton, and Brosnan in that order. GoldenEye was amazing. I love GoldenEye. It inspired my first luxury watch, the Omega Seamaster. The rest is history, right? And if you've seen Oliver Stone's Born on the 4th of July, this is one of many examples. You see the caliber or the range Tom Cruise has. I mean, that performance should have won an Oscar. It cements him as one of the greatest of all time, certainly. I mean, very moving. If you've watched that and you haven't cried your eyes out, I don't think you have a soul, you know? And I think with Cruise being at the helm in terms of the producing and all the rest of it, it's just got better and better and better. Whereas the Bond franchise kind of is a bit all over the place, especially with the later Daniel Craig movies. You know, I loved Skyfall, but there were a few, there were hits and misses, shall we say. So in 1996, the first Mission Impossible movie arrived, with Ethan Hunt played by Tom Cruise, our super spy protagonist, wearing the quintessentially 90s DW290 there. My favorite Casio of all time. Absolutely love this one. I've talked about it to death. It's my happy place watch. But in case you missed my previous videos, here's a summary.
Good morning, Mr. Phelps. Should you or any member of your IM force be caught or killed, the Secretary will disavow all knowledge of your actions. Ethan Hunt will be your point man. This is your mission, should you choose to accept it.
DW290 is a capolavoro of uber-purposeful ergonomic design, and in many ways the peak of Casio's reign as master of not only affordable feature-rich digital watches, but of professional 200-meter diving-capable timepieces. It was the go-to choice for multiple historic NASA aquanauts during training missions.
You see this training as realistic? Is it something that you find beneficial and add some realism to your thoughts about what it will really be like when you get to go to an asteroid?
It's been an incredibly realistic mission, yes, absolutely. I don't think you can beat Aquarius and what we've been doing down here
as well as boasting a large military following and even worn by the 6th Director of the FBI, Robert Mueller. Although that was after its starring role, so it's not really clear if that was art imitating life or vice versa. Interestingly, there is a fascinating article in the New Yorker that analyzes the watch's symbolism and significance that perfectly mirrors its casting in the movie. I highly recommend checking it out. Regardless, it was not official product placement, and so the responsibility falls typically on either the costume designer or occasionally the prop department, especially if it plays a significant role in the movie's plot, and therefore the art director too. In this particular case, watch pun not intended, it was in fact down to a chap called Fred Hole, whose impressive art direction has a long involvement with horology, from various modded Omega Seamasters in 2 later Brosnan Bond movies, to the implementation of several incredibly important Seikos in James Cameron's Aliens, including the famous Ripley and Bishop watches designed by Giorgetto Giugiaro, along with the Seiko Arnie in a scene in the extended uncut version. This, in my opinion, is the greatest marriage of retro-futurist military-industrial design and iconic horology.
Because if one of those things gets down here, then this bullshit that you think is so important, you can just kiss all that goodbye.
Knowing this information, we can assume the Casio was just as thoughtfully deliberate, thus reflecting Ethan Hunt's character as a tough, unpretentiously there to do a job, low-key but still capable in a multitude of ways, but also waterproof enough to deal with the stunts Tom Cruise himself so memorably immortalized on celluloid.
Agent located.
Now, when it came to the sequel in the year 2000, MI2,
Identity confirmed.
it was the turn of Casio G-Shock with this, the DW69001V, I believe. Interestingly enough, it's the only watch in today's lineup that is still available to buy brand new, unlike the previously discussed and recently discontinued DW290. Again, this was not officially licensed product placement, so the branding was removed. However, in this gloriously OTT John Woo directed and thus outrageously acrobatic action extravaganza, there was actually a juicy close-up, and the watch utilized as a prop. According to WatchID.com, it was either digitally or physically modified for the extra features. The 6900 series was introduced in 1995, being an amalgamation of several world firsts from 3 key predecessors, combined into a super hybrid of sorts. Its triple graph circular displays that separate measurements was inspired by the speedometers of motorcycles, that with the legendary G-Shock robustness creates a very fitting watch for Ethan Hunt and his escapades, especially with one of the most memorable stunts in the movie, using a ballet of dueling motorbikes. Yeah, only in a John Woo movie do we see something like that. You gotta love it. Flying doves and gratuitous slow motion while jumping and firing all at the same time. All that's missing is Chow Yun-fat saving babies from bad guys, but at least we have the heavenly Thandie Newton to make up for it.
You know me?
No? Should I?
She's got no training for this kind of thing.
But to go to bed with a man and lie to him, she's a woman. She's got all the training she needs.
Art direction this time was by a chap called Nathan Crowley, another production designer with a long history of timepiece-rich movies under his belt, like Interstellar, Dunkirk, the Nolan Batman trilogy, and so on. So when it came to the third movie, G-Shock wised up, and they created a special edition version of this. This is actually the screen-accurate one, which I'll discuss in just a moment. Now, the limited edition one was kind of like what Omega did with the Seamaster, or some of the Seamasters, where they would put the gun barrel on the back, or they've put the 007 on the counterbalance, maybe etched on the dial, branded versions of the screen-accurate model. Now, those are very rare and highly, highly sought after and extremely expensive, as you would imagine.
5.
You have a wife, girlfriend?
4. 3.
Whoever she is, I'm gonna find her.
2.
I'm gonna hurt her.
1.
In 2006, MI3 arrived, the directorial debut of J.J. Abrams, who would go on to rescue or ruin, depending on how you view it, other beloved franchises like Star Wars and Trek. Aside from Tom Cruise as the ineradicable Ethan Hunt again, we see Ving Rhames as the ever-lovable, trusty BFF Luther Stickle, the only other character to be in every single Mission Impossible movie so far.
The character in most of these characters, especially the ones of us who have been in at least 2 of them, you see more of relationship telling, who these people are, how they interact with one another. You see more substance in the film, because to me, films are really about relationships between people.
Unfortunately, I have yet to identify his watch in the later Fallout movie, so if anyone knows, please do guess or share your insight in the comments. This time around, further recurring key members of the IMF team were added, most notably Simon Pegg as the comic relief in the form of Benji, who would go on to wear various G-Shocks and even a Tissot touch in later movies. But back to Ethan's choice, the MTG 910, which mirrored the movie's grittier, darker and more mature tone, compared to the rather comic book exaggerations of before.
You don't think I'll do it? Where is it? I'm gonna kill you. I swear to God, I'm gonna kill you.
This G-Shock was cutting edge for the time, featuring a tough solar-powered movement with wave scepter atomic timekeeping via radio-controlled synchronization, the kind of thing a classic Q branch could only dream about. Crucially, it was also hard as nails, with a 200-meter depth-rated pro-level diving capability, and a mainly steel bracelet and body, finished with a blacked-out tactical iron plating, giving it a utilitarian martial quality. It was also strangely sartorially compatible with the Bell-Staff jackets that I'm also a fan of and have reviewed in other videos. This watch was an early example of the brand's foray into higher-end offerings, priced at $200, which was rather considerable for the time. It was, however, short-lived, introduced in 2004 and only in production for a few years, being mainly a transitional model, as the MTG collection would quickly evolve into Ani-Digi and then totally analog with a Hublot-esque aesthetic that we see today. I especially love this installment in the franchise. I mean, we've got Tom Cruise speaking in Italian. Che devo dire, ragazzi, troppo figo, no? Troppo figo. One of the best villains, played by the late, great Philip Seymour Hoffman, who's this kind of pent-up, rage-filled, oleaginous, just terrifying, absolutely terrifying. Makes me wonder, what watch was he wearing? I didn't see any watch, or maybe I didn't catch it. He seems like a Lange&Söhne type guy. Yeah, all the big villains, especially in the watch world, wear those. Let me know in the comments what you think.
We're going to have to go into the server room from the outside.
We?
I'm on the computer.
So then we get to the 2011 Ghost Protocol, the most unquestionably watch-heavy of the entire series. Many, many great pieces, which we'll take a look at in just a moment, but this is the star of the show, the Tudor Heritage 70330N, I believe. Yeah, a match made in heaven, absolutely pure class. Look at this. Ghost Protocol, aka MI4, also has one of the biggest G-Shocks I've ever seen, with Simon Pegg attached to it. But then we have Jeremy Renner's Brandt character wearing a Rolex Submariner, and Paola Patton as June during the start of the movie wearing what appears to be a Sunto Vector, although I'm not 100% sure about that, so please let me know what you think in the comments. But let's get to the star of the show, shall we? The Tudor Heritage Chrono, which totally blew my mind at the time, not only because it was so fitting for the motor racing gymnastics, but in a wider sense, like the previous iconic hero played by Cruise, it has a tinge of maverick Porsche design in there too. But best of all is how ahead of current trends it was. As far as I know, it was not product placement, because despite my extensive research, none of the industry sources mentions Tudor. In fact, the brand had barely come back on the watch scene after its relaunch, and had yet to be swimming in the endless Black Bay profits of recent years. It had yet to be the darling of every fake watch publication and the thrones of lies that their overpaid posteriors sit on. The choice of a racing chrono from Tudor was truly an inspired and clever one at that, as whoever made the decision obviously knows watches. I never realized it's got a bi-directional 12-hour bezel. Pretty cool. Tudor has a very overlooked, long-storied heritage with motorsports that we have explored extensively on the channel before, and not a year goes past I don't keep both fingers crossed for a rejuvenation of this story with in-house movements and the rest of it. The Tudor Heritage 70330N had only been released 7 months before the start of filming in 2010. At 42mm, it's a hefty, oversized update of the 1970s Valjoux-based 39mm Monte Carlos. With an elegantly balanced bicompax layout and a mainly brushed oyster-style bracelet, evoking strong Newman Daytona vibes, and incidentally one of Cruise's acting heroes. But also some Bondian vibes in there too, as you can see when it's worn with ultimate sprezzatura in a tux. But what makes the Tudor, well, distinctly Tudor, and not the inevitably mentioned bigger brother, is the use of vivid orange, along with the 70s retro-styled numerals, main baton seconds hand, and trapezium shapes that frame the subdials. And a quick shout out, by the way, to Moya Fine Jewelers. It would be ungentlemanly for me not to thank them, as they are my go-to trusted AD for many top brands, and they so generously loaned me this used sample just so I can make this video for you guys, the good gentry out there. So grazie mille to Derek at Moyers. So in 2015, the 5th MI movie arrives, Rogue Nation. This time, Simon Pegg's character Benji wears a Tissot Touch, which is an iconic watch in its own right. This was official product placement. However, Ethan Hunt stops wearing a watch and subsequently doesn't for the next couple of movies. In fact, I think he doesn't even wear a watch in the latest one. I've yet to see it, obviously, but I have a very interesting theory as to why. Before I share mine, please do share any thoughts in the comments. Why do you think he stops wearing a watch? Yeah, do share your thoughts down below.
The time has come to dissolve the IMF.
We've never met before, right?
Rogue Nation was an important turning point for the franchise. It began the highly fruitful partnership between Cruise and writer/director Christopher McQuarrie.
Benji. Ethan, where are you?
The Syndicate is real. A rogue nation trained to do what we do.
An anti-IMF.
And this is where I myself defected. Dismayed with the overly miserable Daniel Craig, who despite bringing great physicality to his James Bond, lacked the all-important coolness, that cynical, sardonic twinkle in his eye that Connery had, or the cheeky chap scoundrel humour of Moore and Brosnan. The MI series had, strangely by this point, become more consistent and certainly a more enjoyable spectacle for me. Rogue Nation's opera set assassination scene in particular, scored by Puccini's Turandot, along with scenes of infiltrating a meeting with the British Prime Minister, played superlatively by Tom Hollander in a Blenheim Palace setting no less, was more Bondian than Bond. It's the epitome of revivalist aristocratic Palladian style, and the home of the Churchills, need I say more? I mean, just add Hugo Mountbatten in there, and it couldn't be more quintessentially British. A good thing I've got another Jurassic Park movie on the way. This would make a splendid little house in the country for moi.
Prime Minister.
I hope you realize you've set back US-UK relations to the American Revolution.
And speaking of Great Britannia, fast forward to 2018 with Fallout, my personal favourite of the MI movies. This time we see our next watch, albeit a similar pocket watch from CWC, a British military watchmaker that we have discussed several times over the last year. So this is the only watch in my lineup here that isn't screen accurate. The CWC from the movie had an extra pusher at the 11 o'clock and it was red no less, kind of like Hanhart. I found something better. This is actually military issued with the markings on the back and the broad arrow on the dial as stipulated by the British MOD, of course. A wonderful bit of British martial history in the hand. And it begs the question, why did they go so old school? I think it's the tried and tested independent form of timekeeping that, you know, you can't hack this remotely like certain smart watches or, you know, and also I presume the one in the movie might have been manual wind as well. Again, completely independent of any other power sources, highly legible. When all else fails, yeah, que meraviglia. Can you hear that ticking? Que meraviglia. So cool.
The end you always feared is coming, and the blood will be on your hands.
Fallout tops my list of the series for the bombastic gravitas of the score. The tastefully classic costumes, especially of our lead, the skydiving, helicopter dueling, and Arc de Triomphe traffic-defying action, with just the right notes of humour, moments of tenderness, betrayal, and intrigue, all with locations equal to the best of 007. Elements directed, edited, and acted so cohesively, but there's also an extra cherry on top. The return of the menacing, snake-like hissed East Anglian whispers of MI's greatest villain, Solomon Lane, played by the indelible Sean Harris. But this still begs the question, why no watch for our beloved main protagonist? I can hear Solomon now going, "Ethan, where's your bloody watch?" Well, in the 2023 Dead Reckoning that followed Fallout, Simon Pegg's Benji Dunn wore the highly underrated quartz-based Hamilton Khaki X-Wind, a giant 46mm Swiss beast, packed with a GMT and crosswind calculator. As a former owner of the smaller mechanical predecessor of this ultra-complicated aviation chronograph, considering the brand's history with supplying the British Royal Air Force during the 1970s, it certainly fits the bill for our plucky Brit. But again, Ethan goes bare-wristed. So how come? Well, not to get too Rob Ager about it and all existential, I genuinely believe, with the film's main antagonist being a rogue sentient AI known as the Entity, Ethan Hunt represents a Nietzschean ideal, a savior in the form of an American Ubermensch hero, in a reality where a machine is hell-bent on subjugating, or worse, exterminating its creator, mankind, thus becoming an all-powerful god.
AI our agent stole, once weaponized, could be transmitted anywhere in the world via satellite. Can penetrate any network security, perform its assigned task invisibly, and self-destruct, leaving no trace.
A perfect covert operative.
Therefore, on a more profound level, it also has a Kubrickian-style meta-commentary on the film industry's fear of AI, and in a wider sense, plays on our real-world replaceability by automation. Tom Cruise and Ethan Hunt are therefore one and the same, saving the world on the silver screen, along with American good versus evil Hollywood classicism beyond it. There to remind us that humanity can and always will win.
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
The symbolism of a man with time-telling machinery attached, accompanying him throughout his quest, albeit a quartz Casio or Tudor self-winding mechanical, therefore undermines what our Vitruvian savior represents.
What exactly is your plan?
Without it, he is timeless, righteous, and pure, the ultimate mission manifested in corporeal form.
I need you to trust me. One last time.
Yeah, I can't wait to see this new one. I'm going to be there with my popcorn, my Casio on wrist. I want to see it on the big screen to really get the most out of it. That got me thinking where I'd like to see the Mission Impossible movies go next. I think Stallone, what he did with Rocky into the Creed franchise, maybe Ethan Hunt becoming a mentor type figure, right? And also, hopefully, more watches. Definitely more watches. Let me know your nominations for brands and timepieces that you think would be a good fit. Love hearing that. I'll pin the best one. So yeah, if you go and see this one, enjoy it. Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you in the next one. Onwards and upwards. Thank you for watching. Ciao.